Today we're going to be taking a look at the results from the Nino Pokebros Tour over the last weekend. This is a tournament that had almost 600 players and is one of the last major events we had before the World Championships. So first things first here, I want to take a look at Marco's team. Now Marco is the player who won this entire event, and this team is pretty interesting simply because there's nothing on it that is surprising. This is, in my opinion, just an incredibly standard meta team right now. This has got your Urshi Power Knight team, this has got, you know, Focus Sash, Terra Ghost with pretty normal moves. You'll see Icicle Crash here. Now, this is something that has picked up a bit in usage recently because a lot of Flutter mains are speccing to live that the Ice Spinner on, you know, 1 HP. So the Icicle Crash really puts it in your favor, giving you roughly like I think it's like a 40 to 50% chance to pick up the one shot. It's also really good for Amoonguses as well, and basically anything that has the Rocky Helmet, because it allows you to bypass it by not making contact, which is also really good. And the additional flinch chance is pretty nice, but obviously, you know, it comes with that added benefit of, or added negative of a potential mischance. The D-Knight here is pretty, you know, pretty standard as well. It's just Choice Band, Terra Normal, Inner Focus, E-Speed, and Aerial Ace as its two main stabs. It's got the Stomping Tantrum to help you out with the Heatrans, and then Aqua Jet is just fantastic paired up with Qian Power, because that plus Sucker Punch picks up basically any Flutter mains that aren't Terra Water, and even then, I think you still pick up most Terra Water Flutter mains. Urshifu, this is again pretty standard. This is the Rapid Strike variant. It's got the Choice Scarf, it's got the Terra Water. The only real cool tech on this is the Rock Slide, which is pretty good into the Genies and the Power Knights. But other than that, very, very standard. Heatran here, Leftovers, Terra Grass, again standard. The Heat Wave plus Terra Blast sub has become very common. No one's really speccing the Earth Power and the Flash Cannon as much. Still definitely good, but very standard to see at least the Heat Wave plus Terra Blast Grass. Flutter Mane as well, very standard. Everyone's running the booster over the specs right now because Protect is obviously fantastic, and Terra Water is the Terra of choice. Helps you out into the Urshifus, it helps you out into the Golden Goes. It's just really damn good. Also good into the Powers as well. And then finally, Rillaboom, AV, Terrafire, again, very, very standard. It's got the Stomping Tantrum, it's got the Fake Out, the U-Turn, just great utility between those moves. I do know a lot of people are opting for for the knockoff, sorry. I personally do think U-Turn and Stomping Tantrum is a bit better, but that's just my opinion. And then finally, Woodhammer is just a fantastic stab move. It allows you to pick up the Flutter mains if they... Honestly, they picked up any Flutter main that doesn't resist it, and you don't even need much attack investment. I think the 36 Adamant is like always one-shotting, so very surprised that this is such a standard team, considering... in the what was the tour we had last weekend? It was the Victory Road Tour. We saw like 2 Ursaluna teams. There was like 3 Cresselias in the top 4. Like, it was not so off. It wasn't really like an off meta like teams that won, but they were teams that I guess people weren't necessarily looking at as like the top teams, right? Now, looking at the second place team here, we do have something else pretty interesting, and that is the Dragapult here. Now, I do believe there was a team, I don't know if they were top 8 or top 16 last weekend at the Victory Road Tour, but they did, you know, basically top cut with a Dragapult, which was pretty interesting. Obviously, Power Knight, one of my personal favorite combos, and it was fantastic just to see it, you know, really rise up. And you do see it here paired up with the Farigiraf, mainly because it just stops Sucker Punch, right? The Dragapult does basically outspeed everything, in the current metagame, outside of, I believe, obviously, the Electrodes and Regieleki, but you're not really threatened by either of those. The only thing that really threatens you is Sucker Punch, so having the Farafrig there, obviously, it's just fantastic for it, right? But then if you have a little look further down here, we do see another one popping in here at 11, and then I believe there is another one in the top 16, right? I think I saw 3, yeah, and then another one here at 8. So 2 Dragapults in the top 8, both paired up with Qian Power, obviously, and then another Dragapult just a little further down at 11, once again with the Qian Power, and in these 2 cases here as well, we obviously see here it's paired with the Urshifu Rapid, here it's paired with the Urshifu Rapid, here it is not. But also interesting enough, neither of these teams, I believe, had the priority block, if I'm correct. Yeah, so you see here, neither team here really has priority block, which is very, very interesting. Because obviously Dragapult, I do think, is a fantastic mod. Its biggest issue is, it just doesn't... Again, it doesn't really have a way around the Sucker Punches, right? This is a pretty fragile mon. And if you have a look at this team here, right, it's not necessarily a team that loves to deal with Qian Power. And again, you look at this, like their own one, they're running Double Dark with Terra Dark, which I do think is actually really slept on at the minute. And then Icicle Crash again. It is really interesting to see Icicle Crash picking up so much right now, just because obviously Ice Spin has been so good for so long, especially into things like Indeedee, which I still think is really good. It's really good into Rillaboom as well, just removing the grassy terrain, because something I didn't mention on that first team either, I forget if they actually, I think they had the Rilla Heatran combo. The Grassy Surge paired up with Terra Blast from Heatran is actually insane damage. Like, you pump out a lot of damage if you pair those together. So getting rid of that, the terrain sometimes is really good, but obviously a lot of these Chien-Pao players are running the focus sash and they really want to stay away from those rocky helmets, which is very, very interesting, but also teching on the crunch, because Terra Dark Crunch or even Terra Dark Sucker Punch also does just pick up Flutter Mains. A lot of these Flutter Mains that are teching to, live these Ice Spinners aren't living a, Terra Dark Crunch. And then again, you look at the rest of this team though, like obviously the Dragapult is, it's the main thing everyone's talking about right here. Yeah, so you see this, it's the Bandit, it's the Ghost set with the Terra Blast. Basically, this thing just pumps out damage, right? Terra Ghost Choice Band, Terra Blast next to Chien-Pao. Like, as long as you're going first, you're picking up KOs, man. There's a lot of resist that straight up die to this thing. And then again, this is just a pretty, I don't want to say it's standard, because I think Pult and Farigiraf obviously aren't super standard, but the other four are. Like, this is one of your 4 best scores in the game right now. I love Rillaboom paired up with Chien-Pao. I think it's awesome. I think Heatran is like by far the best fire type in the game right now, which is really unfortunate because I do love Chi-Yu obviously. But this one is just so consistent. You see this one here with the AV as well. This one just hard walls Flutter Mane, man. Like, Flutter Mane just can't touch Heatran especially if it's AV. Like, it eats hits for days, and it just, yeah, it takes names. But yeah, really, really cool here to see the Dragapult doing really well. Another interesting team here too, I actually want to touch on, is the 3rd place team, because this is a very similar balanced team to what I was personally working on, and I think I had a similar team I've released prior to the format as well. And this is like Thunderous balanced. Now, the idea behind these teams here is you've got, this Thunderous, which is a fantastic support. You got T-Wave, you got Eerie Impulse, you got Torn, and Wild Bolt Storm. Like, the ability just to spam that and just fish for paralysis is fantastic. Obviously, Amoonguss is just one of the best supports in the game with the Rocky Helmet's ability to pivot's fantastic. Pair that up with the Landorus as well with the AV Intimidate. Like, that one's just so bulky, and this team really starts to, like, you've got these 3 defensive pieces that are really good together, right? You've got one that, reduces the attack stat, one that reduces the special attack stat, and one that can just eat hits and just regenerate its own HP. And then you pair it with some really good mons here. Obviously, Flutter Mane is probably it is the primary, special attacker in the format right now. Without a doubt, Flutter Mane is the best special attacker we have. And you see this one here. This is the Choice Specs Fairy set. This thing just pumps out damage. If you can just freely click your Dazzling Gleams, like, you're off to the races. You're happy days, happy days. And then we also see the Urshi Rapid Strike. This is, again, probably the best physical attacker in the format right now. Surging Strikes is just, it's really hard to deal with, man. Like, the whole metagame right now feels like it is just revolved around trying to, tank this mon. You see random mons like the Tauns and whatnot rocking Rocky Helmets just so they can try to live it and get 50% damage off and then just pick it up in return. Terra Poison, though, is super interesting on this. I would actually be really curious to find out why they went Terra Poison. Like, obviously, it's fantastic for, like, fairy moves and whatnot, but you're still, it opens you up to ground moves. You're still weak to psychic moves. Like, I don't know. I don't think Terra Poison's fantastic, at least on this version. I do think on the dark version, it's probably fine, but on the water version, kind of interesting. But once again, we see Heatran again. Like, this team is, in my opinion, going to be like kind of like the New Balance of this metagame. I do think Thundy's support is really slept on right now. The ability to throw out those Thunder Waves, those Wild Bolt Storms, the Eerie Impulses, it's just really damn good right now. Especially too, because like no Amoongusses are running the Mental Herb anymore. Like, they're all taking Rocky Helmet. So the ability just to like lead this, like, and kind of stop the opponent from leading something like Amoonguss is fantastic, because obviously everyone knows like Amoonguss plus a lead where you just protect and spore, or you Rage Powder and throw off like a Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam. Like, it is so strong on lead, and just having something like Thunderous that can shut it down, especially in open team shit, I think is fantastic. And then to round out the top 4, we have a very similar team to one we just looked at, obviously. I'll pull it up here. It is another Thunderous balanced team. Again, very similar. This one's a bit more offensive in the sense that it does have the Sunny Day. Sunny Day obviously pairs fantastically with Flutter Mane, especially on a set like this, right? Because what is really cool here is you have the T-Wave plus Hex, and then you pair that with the ability to set Sun. All of a sudden, you have a Flutter Mane who's firing off 130 base power, like, stab moves, which is insane. Like, you think about how hard the Moonblast hits, like, from this thing. Like, Hex just is on a whole nother level, right? It's 35 base power more. Absolutely insane. But again, this is a very good, like, call we see here. The Amoonguss with Rocky Helmet, the AV Lando with Intimidate, and then the Thunderous here with, in this case, it doesn't have the Eerie Impulses, but it does have the Taunt. It has the T-Waves, it's got the Sunny Day, the T-Bolts. Fantastic one. Also really good at leading into the opposing Tornadoes as well, sorry. Because obviously you can just fire off a T-Bolt into it, and you'll either pick it up or you'll do a lot of damage. Another cool one on this team as well, actually, is the Golden Go. Now, this is really cool for 2 reasons. So, obviously, Golden Go, Goldango, however you want to say it, it's on the rise right now. We're seeing it rise up a lot more. It's getting a lot more player, and we'll see that as we kind of go over the trends after this. But it's being paired up a lot with the Urshifu Dark, and the reason for that is Urshifu Dark right now is incredibly good as long as you can deal with the opponent's fairy types, right? This mon absolutely just runs through teams. Like Terra, Dark, Black Glasses, Wicked Blow. There are not many mons that can tank that, especially when you pair it with something like the Swords Dance on this set, which to me is a bit wild, right? But when you've got a Moongus, man, you can click it. Like, you can get that, if you get that Swords Dance up, it's a wrap, man. You're going through teams with this Wicked Blow. Like, it's absolutely absurd. And these two as a combo are, like, fantastic, right? They're both just set up sweepers. One clicks Plot, the other clicks Swords Dance. And if you let them get that up, you're not having a good time, you know? Golden Go is just, it's insane, right? If you get that Plot up, make it range, just, you KOing both opponents in one go. And then in terms of Urshifu, like, it doesn't matter if you resist Wicked Blow, man, this thing, it's one tap and it's doing a lot of damn damage. Like, this is also one of the few physical attackers that just doesn't care about Amoonguss, right? It's like, oh yeah, you know, Rocky Helmet, like, I know you kind of did like 16% damage, but you just got one tapped. And that's not what you want on your Amoonguss. You never want your Amoonguss to get one shot, and that is one of the benefits of having the Urshifu Dark, is it has the ability to one shot it. Now, so if we start to look at some of the other trends here as well, you'll notice actually there was not a single Ursaluna in the top 4, which is actually really interesting because we did see 2 of them in the top 4 last time. Now, we do see one here at 5th, you know, sitting in the top 8. We have another one here from Freezeye, you know, shout out Freezeye, one of my favorite YouTubers right now, also has one. But that is only 2 Ursalunas in the top 16, which is very, very interesting, right? So obviously you see here, the Luna Crest hands is on both these teams, an incredibly strong trio. And I'm actually shocked that there is actually only 2 of them in the top 16. I do think this combo is on the rise. I did actually have a tournament game the other day. I might do a video on it in the future. I might even just do like a breakdown or something on the games. But I played up against the bulk up Ursaluna with Terra Ghost, and it clapped me, man. Like, I managed to beat it game 1 with some great reads, but then game 2 and game 3, it gets one bulk up off, and then it's just GG. Like, bulk up plus Flame Orb just makes that mon incredibly hard to deal with. And if you have things like Cresselia, Iron Hands, you know, the Amoonguss, you got the Intimidate on, you know, this team here from the Arcanine, like, your ability just to basically keep this thing alive and then just start firing off attacks is insane. Like, if this thing gets a bulk up, you better be like a ghost type or something. You better be able to, like, you know, be immune to one of the attacks because it's going straight through you. And a lot of these guys too, they're also running the EQ. You see it here, like, yeah, this one's SD, not bulk up, with EQ Facade. Like, to me, EQ is like so rogue. I'm like, dude, why are people running EQ with like Rillaboom running around? But it doesn't matter. If you get +2, that EQ, it doesn't matter if Rillaboom's out there. Like, you're still picking up KOs, man. And when you pair it next to the Cresselia, it's absolutely insane. I also want to quickly see what Frieza was running here. Was he also SD? Okay, he wasn't SD. He was the Terra Water set, which is still really, really good. But again, he's running EQ Overhead Long Rush, which again, to me is absolutely wild. But I guess players are probably learning right now that you really just don't want to lose your defensive stats. Also, your defensive, you know, yeah, you don't want your SPDF getting lowered is basically what I'm trying to say. Which is, yeah, I mean, I understand it. I mean, if we keep looking down though, here we have another pretty standard team here. This is obviously another Golden Girl, like, hyper offensive team. Very, like, aggressive teams. Like, one thing I have noticed myself in a lot of testing here is a lot of the better support mons aren't necessarily your defensive support mons. Like, I think the only real passive support you can really go for right now are like the Amoongusses and the Cresselias. Outside of that, you're going to notice a lot of people are running, you know, Rillaboom especially over Amoonguss. And like, you look at the top 2 teams here. Neither one has Amoonguss. They both have Rillaboom because it just puts on more offensive pressure than Amoonguss. And it's also a Pokemon that just doesn't care about Amoonguss, right? You can fake it out if you need to, or you can just straight up ignore it, drop a Wood Hammer on its ally. Again, you see the Arcanine as like your Intimidator. Obviously, a lot of the Intimidators, you know, right now are pretty offensive, whether it be either Arcanine form or it be Landorus. Like, they're all like really, really good offensive Pokemon. But obviously, you know, as your supports, like, if you want to take 2 supports on right now, in my opinion, looking at something like an Intimidator plus a Fake Out mon, even like on this team here as well, you see the Iron Hands. Like, Iron Hands is just another great support mon, even though it's obviously it puts out a lot of damage. It's very bulky, but it still has the Fake Out. It has the Volt Switch. It allows you to pivot around while also, you know, threatening with things like Wild Charge, Drain Punch, Close Combat, Heavy Slam. Like, it does a lot, man. And then also we see here Fede coming in at number 7. This is like that new Rain team coming up that everyone's kind of playing. We saw it. I think it got one top 16 placement at the last tour, at the Victory Road tour. I've seen this on ladder a lot, especially, you know, on high ladder. A lot of people are running this. Bascullegion Legion in the rain is absolutely absurd. Like, this mod does a lot. And Thundy T as well. If Thundy can start clicking those Specs Wild Bolt Storms, like, good luck. You better have resist, because that thing's going to fire them off. It's going to paralyze your team. It's going to be very, very annoying to deal with. Obviously here, Pelipper with Keen Eye, I definitely think that is a mistake. I'm actually shocked that is there because there's no way Fede ran this with Keen Eye. Absolutely no way, especially with the fact that this is Swift Swim. So I don't know if that's an issue on Limitless's end here or if he actually stuffed up his team sheet. I'd actually be really curious to know if he stuffed up his team sheet. That's actually hilarious. But again, you know, Terra Water Shroom in Rain, kind of interesting. I thought they were running Terra Steel, but that's still good. Hisui and Gudra, obviously, running Sap Sipper gives you that water, that grass resist, which is still really good. I do think you kind of miss the Surging Strikes resist, because obviously in Rain, you do not want to go up against the opposing Urshifu. And then again, a pretty standard Flutter Mane. That's like the Flutter Mane a lot of people are running. It's either Terra Fairy or Water right now. We continue to look down. We already touched on the Golden Go team here. Sorry, Golden Go, the Dragapult team plus Golden Go. Again, one thing I didn't kind of mention as well is, like, obviously we see a lot of the rapid strikes here, but we have actually had a few single strikes pop up, which is cool. Obviously, one in the top 4 here. We were looking at one just before, weren't we? Where is the one with the hair sticking up? There's another one here. Oh, was that the one I just looked at? Yeah, so one in top 4. I could have sworn there was more I saw. Oh, yeah, 2 here. Yeah, back to back here. Okay, so at 13 and 14, there's 2 more rapid strikes too. Oh, sorry, another one. Yeah, so there's like 4 single strikes in the top 16 actually, which is kind of cool. Very, very cool. We talked about Freezeye's team already as well. This team here, I mean, look, again, pretty standard. I think people, again, I kind of touched on it before. People are starting to realize, like, Golden Go is just, like, always good, right? Like, if you have a look here, we got, what, 1 in the top 4, another one in the top 8, 2 in the top... So there's actually 3 Golden Goes in the top 8, which is really cool. And then what's that, like, another 5, 6 more? So there's 9 Golden Goes in the top 16, which is actually insane. Like, again, I forget what... I was talking to one of the homies about this recently. I think it was actually during Regulation C. And I was just saying, like, Golden Go is one of those Pokemon, it always finds a way back, man. People don't play it at the start, and then everyone realized Make It Rain is broken. Ghost and Seal type is broken. It's like the same thing with Aegislash, man. This typing is broken. Make It Rain is broken. This Pokemon always finds a way back into the metagame, man. Always finds a way back. And especially now, like, we're about to see it on, like, what, like 5 consecutive teams here. But yeah, you know, a pretty offensive Golden Go team here where their supports are Torn plus Shroom. And just Urshifu Power Knight, obviously a fantastic core. Again, we see another Dragapult team here where this one isn't speed control, but I'm assuming this is this an E-Speed plus Howl? I'm assuming it's E-Speed Howl, yeah? Okay, so it's E-Speed, no Howl. Oh, okay, it's AV, that's why. But yeah, obviously, you know, you've got the E-Speed here, you've got the Sucker Punch here, you've got just, you know, a very fast Dragapult here, and then just Shroom for redirection. Like, obviously, just these 4 here pair so well with Chien Power. And then Golden Go plus redirection is just always damn good, man. Like, that's just insane. Touch on that team. This one here is actually kind of interesting too, because again, we see like this combo here doesn't have the D-Knight, but it has the Arcanine as their extreme speed user, right? I'm guessing. Yeah, another AV E-Speed. Actually kind of interesting. I didn't know AV was on the rise so hard. But again, these 4 here are pretty standard, but this one just got a Zapdos slapped onto it. Obviously, in this case, Zapdos is your kind of your answer, I guess, to the Urshis of the world. Obviously, this is Rocky Helmet plus Static, which is really damn good. But again, very, very standard team here. Safety Goggles, very cool on the Urshifu. I do think, if you're not running Scarf, I do think Goggles is probably the next best one right now. Like, Water's pretty good, like, Bandit's okay, but I feel like a lot of people are teching to beat you right now. Especially, like, you see him here, right? He's like, this guy's expecting you to not want to hit his Amoonguss, right? Like, you know, he's expecting the potential Terra Grass. He's expecting the Safety Goggles. So that's why, like, Shroom here, I think, is just, like, your standard Citrus Berry set. He's like, nah, all right, like, I'm going to let you Zapdos as my Urshi counter, which I think is really cool. And then, again, Golden Go, just plot plus redirection. It's broken, man. It's just a great combo, man. It's really, really good. And then, I mean, look, you kind of ran out the rest of these teams here. Again, actually, this one's not standard. This one's really cool, actually. I think I saw... I think Neil was actually talking about a team like this a couple of days ago. This one is like really, really cool, right? So you have like Torn as your speed control mon, where he's got like double speed control, right? Tailwind plus Icy Wind. You've got the Iron Hands, which again, I think is just fantastic. I actually think Iron Hands was very underrated in the top 16 today. But that's maybe because Rillaboom was played so much as well. And a lot of people aren't necessarily just like stacking them because they both kind of want AV. And they're both fake out mons. But like personally, I love playing them both together. But I could see why people aren't, you know, I guess pairing them both. But then, you know, you go this, pair it up with the Lando. Lando T is really, really interesting with Torn as an offensive set. Obviously here, you see the Life Orb plus EQ. These two together pump damage, man. If you can't deal with that on like turn 1, or like you mislead and you think this is kind of like a more bulky set, especially on ladder where you don't have open team sheet, Lando's just going to go straight through you with EQs, man. And Terra Rock is also really, really cool because that gives you a resistance to ice and obviously allows you just to throw off fat rock slides. But the rest of the team's pretty standard. Obviously, this is a Specs Terra Steel set, which is cool. Again, Booster Fairy and then just another Bandit Urshi. Just really, really good. Very, very offensive, but obviously very, very potent. And then really finally, just to round out the last two teams here, we have like a Torn like aggro team. I don't want to say too much about this team. I feel like we've already touched on Torn a lot. Obviously, this one's Rocky Helmet. It's got the Rain Dance. Pretty cool set here. Obviously, it's there to enable the Urshi and the Rillaboom, obviously. And then, you know, Taunt and Thunderwave are just fantastic. No Hex here, which is kind of sad. Icicle Crash once again. Everyone running Icicle Crash, which is pretty cool. But yeah, everything there is pretty standard. Splash Bait. Splash Bait just being unique, I guess, not going the Mystic Water. But finally, the last team here, another really cool team. Very similar to the one we touched on 2 teams ago. It's a Chi-Yu team with the Torn plus Lando. Now, to me, this is super interesting because, like, obviously, Lando here's AV. He's not the Life Orb set, which is fine. I still think, you know, AV Lando is really good, especially with Terra Water. It gives you a great matchup into the Urshi, but this is the only Chi-Yu in the top 16. And that makes me so sad. I'm such a big fan of Chi-Yu, and like no one's really getting results with it. Like this is like, this guy finished, he still finished top 16 out of, you know, like it was like 580 players, which is still fantastic. But man, just to see Chi-Yu like not be a top 1 it's actually really sad, dude. I hate that it's not like a, you know, at least getting something in the top 4. But who knows, maybe someone's going to find a great way to play it. I do think its biggest issue is it still kind of wants Nasty Plot, but it doesn't have the bulk and the typing of Golden Go, which is kind of sad. But this team's, again, it's pretty standard. You see this one, he's got Icy Wind on the Flutter Mane. That's kind of his second form of speed control. Again, a Banded Dark Urshifu with Golden Go on a Torn team. Like, these 3 here, boys, I'm telling you, this is like, it's not even a sleeper anymore. Like, I don't know if I made any videos talking about it, but I was saying, like, Urshi Gold is, like, this combo that's on the rise. Just because they pair up so well together. Like, Urshi's only weakness is Fairy types, and Gold just messes up Fairy types. Like, these two paired together are insane. And when you hear Banded Specs paired up with Torn, like, you're, yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. And then, again, you look at the rest of the team here, like, Chi-Yu Golden Go as well is, like, also insane. Especially if you get Tailwind up and then somehow get the Chi-Yu in next to it, like, you just pump out damage, man. But yeah, like, that's the top 16, boys. I guess the takeaway this week is Fundy on the rise, which is good. I'm really glad we saw a bit more Thunderous and not so much just, like, Tornadus just completely dominating it. Also really cool to see that not really any speed control teams were like that good. Like if you actually look at the top 8, there's not a single Tornadus in the top 8, which is really interesting. Because I think everyone was like really like going hard on the Tailwind, and now I guess people are just kind of finding answers to it. Like we have one Torn here at top 8, at 10th place, another one here at 13, another one here at 15. So still 3 Torns in the top 16, which is still, you know, decent, but definitely not as many as I expected to see. But I do think people just kind of learned like, hey, just, you know, lead something strong into it and then, you know, get a 2 KOs turn 1 and hope they can't KO you. But yeah, so really interesting. Again, not many Iron Hands. That's the other big thing here. We see 1 Iron Hands here at 5, another one at 9. So there's 1 Iron Hands in the top 8. And then there's, what is that, like 3? I think I counted 3 in the top 16. I mean, same use as just Torn, but very interesting, man. Like this metagame is developing to be something pretty fun. I'm really curious to see, obviously, how the next, you know, 2 weeks in the lead up to Worlds go as well, because I know a lot of people who are going to Worlds that I spoke to, they were all telling me, like, this is the weekend, we have to have our team ready. And I don't know, with the way the metagame's developing, I don't know if locking in a team this week is actually the best play. Like, obviously, getting you know, reps on the team is really important, but yeah, dude, it's like, I think it's scary. Also, something I just noticed here, we actually have a Dondozo here. In the top 20, I didn't see a single Dozogiri, which is actually really interesting considering how well it actually played last weekend. You see actually 2 standalone Dozers here, 3 standalone Dozers in the top 32 with no Tatu. That's really interesting, actually. I was about to end the video, but let's have a look at this. Is this the Yawn one? Yeah, this is like the Yawn plus Rocks. No, it's not Yawn plus Rocks. Okay. But yeah, Yawn, Heavy Slam, Wave Crash. Like, this one's still just like really good, obviously. A lot of people have been saying that for a while. I think that like Dozo on its own is actually still good. Wow, Curse Dozo with Wave Crash. That's kind of interesting. I'm assuming this is like Max Spadef. Really cool way to actually run that. And then finally, we'll check this one here too, see how people are running it. Once again with the big ting, but yeah, this is just like a Yawn Wave Crash. Yeah. So these two sets, like these two ones here, just fantastic together. They obviously give you like really nice like defense as well, because Dozo is one of those mons that even without Tatsu, it's really bulky. And so just to be able to sit there and like spam Yawns and like potentially Wave Crash mons, like, because I'm sure a Wave Crash from this, it still picks up a Flutter Mane. You're still dealing like a lot of damage to ones like Heatran. You probably even pick up, I don't know if you'd actually pick up Heatran. Depends how offensively invested they are. But if I had to guess, these are very specially defensive sets, obviously. But yeah, guys, look, I'm going to end it there. Otherwise, I'm going to be here for another hour talking about the top 200 or some shit. But yeah, let me know what you think of what's basically been seen over these last weekends. Obviously, dude, Dozagiri here at 56. Is that the first one? Okay, another one there at 44. Yeah, but look, let me know what you guys think so far. There are a couple of mons I'm really surprised that aren't here. Especially like screens. I'm surprised there's no screens in the top 16. I thought Screens Ape was really, really good. I'm also shocked at the drop-off in Ursaluna, especially in the top 16. Like, we see another one down here at 17, which is really interesting. But yeah, I'm super excited to see how this metagame develops, man. It's finally spreading out. Golden goes back on the rise. I feel like Blood Domain usage is down a little bit because of Gold. But again, I still think they're fantastic together. But anyway, guys, that's it. Let me know what you think down below, obviously, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.